In the far north, where it's freezing and stores are far away, the Inuit found ways to keep food from going bad for years. No fridge needed, no freezer either, just smart ideas and tough food. Here are 10 foods they store that never expire. Let's start with this first one. Seal oil is carefully rendered from the blubber of seals, a process that takes patience and skill. The fresh blubber is cut into small chunks and slowly heated until the precious oil separates. While we're spending 15 minutes waiting for our microwave meals, these folks are putting in real effort. Once collected, the oil is stored in traditional containers made from seal bladders or modern airtight containers. The key to its incredible shelf life? Proper rendering removes water and impurities that would otherwise cause spoilage. A well-made batch of seal oil can last for years, even decades, without going bad. That's longer than most Hollywood marriages. This liquid gold serves multiple purposes in Inuit cuisine. Its most common use is as a dipping sauce for dried meat and fish. Imagine having jerky that's been sitting in your pantry for months, then dunking it in this rich oil that brings it back to life with moisture and flavor. It's like the Arctic version of ranch dressing, except nobody's trying to put it on pizza. The oil also adds much-needed calories and fat to an Arctic diet, where carbohydrates are historically limited. What makes seal oil truly remarkable is its nutritional profile. It's packed with omega-3 fatty acids, even more than many fish oils, providing essential nutrients in a region where fresh produce is limited. You'll pay $50 for fish oil capsules at Whole Foods, but the Inuit have been casually dipping their food in the stuff for centuries. For generations, these healthy fats have helped Inuit communities ward off heart disease despite their high-fat diets, something that puzzled researchers for years in what became known as the Inuit paradox. Traditional families would collect up to 20 gallons of seal oil during hunting season, enough to last through the long, dark winter months. That's roughly 19.5 gallons more than most of us would ever want to own. Beyond cooking, seal oil was used for lighting lamps, waterproofing boots, and even preserving berries by submerging them in the oil. Because nothing says dessert quite like berries that taste faintly of seal. Move over chocolate-covered strawberries. Speaking of preservation methods that might raise a few eyebrows at your local supermarket, let's talk about how the Inuit turn ordinary fish into eternal food treasures. Dried Arctic char stands as the beef jerky champion of the North. Except this fish doesn't need fancy packaging or preservatives to last practically forever. The Inuit catch these salmon-like fish during the brief summer months when Arctic char migrate from saltwater to freshwater. These fish have a better summer vacation plan than most of us. They travel hundreds of miles just to spawn and then get caught. The preservation process is brilliantly simple. After catching, the char is cleaned, filleted, and cut into thin strips. The strips are hung on wooden racks where the Arctic wind and cold temperatures do all the work. No electricity, no dehydrators needed. The natural elements remove moisture from the fish, while the cold prevents bacteria from growing. The result? Fish that can last for years without refrigeration. The texture of dried Arctic char is not for the faint of jaw. Tough and leathery at first bite, it gradually softens as you chew, releasing intense flavors that put store-bought jerky to shame. The taste is distinctly fishy, but not overwhelming, concentrated and slightly sweet. Biting into dried char is like starting a relationship with someone tough on the outside, but surprisingly sweet once you get to know them. During peak fishing season, a single Inuit community can produce up to 4,000 pounds of dried char. That's enough to feed families throughout the harsh winter when fresh food becomes scarce and grocery runs involve snow machines and hours of travel. This is survival food with serious staying power. When dried char meets its perfect companion, seal oil, the magic happens. A quick dip transforms the leathery strips into a softer, more palatable treat while adding crucial fat calories to the protein-rich meal. It's the original surf and turf, minus the turf plus a month of drying time. While fish preservation might seem straightforward, the next item in the Inuits' never-expire pantry involves a bit more craftsmanship and a whole lot of flour. Hardbaked banic might sound like a character from a fantasy novel, but it's actually a survival bread that could outlast your mortgage. This Inuit staple has kept people fed through centuries of Arctic winters without ever growing a speck of mold. Your store-bought bread goes green after a week, while banic sits there looking smug after 10 years. What makes this bread immortal? The secret lies in its bare-bones recipe. Just flour, fat, water, and salt. That's it. No eggs to spoil, no milk to sour, no yeast to die off. Traditionally made with whatever flour was available through trade, banic became an essential food after European contact introduced these ingredients to the north. The cooking process seals the deal on its longevity. Inuit hard banic is baked until it reaches a density similar to concrete. The extended cooking time drives out nearly all moisture, creating an environment where bacteria and mold simply can't thrive. A loaf baked in January could still be perfectly edible the following December. Storage is equally simple. Wrapped in clean cloth and stored in cool, dry places, the hard loaves remain safe from both spoilage and curious animals. Rodents that try to gnaw on proper hard banic probably need emergency dental work afterward. The texture deserves special mention. Fresh from baking, banic is merely firm. But give it a few weeks and it transforms into something that could probably stop a bullet. The true trick to eating aged bannock involves either superhuman jaw strength or some clever softening techniques. A quick dip in tea, a few drops of precious seal oil, or laying it near steam from cooking pots can bring it back to edible form. A study of traditional food preservation found that properly made bannock contained less than 5% moisture content, comparable to modern military rations designed to last for decades. This isn't just bread, it's edible insurance against hunger. From flour bricks to flavor bombs, the next Inuit preservation method involves something much juicier hidden away in pockets of oil. Did you know there's a way to keep berries fresh for years without freezing, canning, or drowning them in sugar? The Inuit solved this problem centuries ago by creating preserved berries in oil, a technique that turns summer's fleeting harvest into a year-round treat. Unlike modern preserves that rely on sugar, this method uses something far more available in the Arctic: seal oil. The process starts during the brief Arctic summer when the tundra briefly erupts with berry patches. Crowberries, with their dark skin and tart juice, are most common. Blueberries appear in lower areas, smaller than their southern cousins, but more flavorful. The prize find is the cloudberry, an amber-colored treasure that tastes like a mix between raspberry and apple with a hint of honey. The berries undergo minimal processing. They're simply cleaned and mixed with rendered seal oil. It's basically a salad dressing that doubles as a time machine for fruit. The oil-coated berries are then packed into traditional containers, historically clean seal stomachs or specially prepared pouches. Modern Inuit might use glass jars or plastic containers, but the principle remains unchanged. The preservation magic happens because of two factors. First, the oil creates an airtight seal around each berry, preventing oxidation. Second, the natural antimicrobial properties of seal oil actively discourage microbial growth. The cold climate provides an additional safeguard, keeping the preserved berries naturally refrigerated for much of the year. A single family might put away up to 40 pounds of berries during a good season. These preserved berries become a crucial source of vitamin C during the long winter months when fresh produce is just a distant memory. When your only vegetable option is none, oil-preserved berries suddenly become the fruit equivalent of finding money in an old coat pocket. The flavor profile is unique, nothing like the jammy sweetness most people associate with preserved fruit. The berries retain much of their original taste and texture, though with a rich undertone from the oil. From fruit swimming in oil, we move to something even more adventurous. Fermented walrus meat, known as iguanak, takes food preservation to a whole new level of bravery. While most cultures created cheese or yogurt when exploring fermentation, the Inuit went straight for walrus meat, proving once again that necessity is the mother of invention when you live in a place where groceries don't grow. Your fancy blue cheese has nothing on the bold flavor journey that is properly aged iguanak. Creating this eternal food starts with a freshly hunted walrus during the summer months. After butchering, large chunks of meat and blubber are wrapped tightly, often in bags made from the walrus hide itself. These meat packages are then buried in permafrost or stone caches, usually away from settlements, and marked with stone cairns to find them months later. The secret to igunak's preservation lies in controlled decomposition. The meat ferments slowly in the cold ground, with temperatures just high enough to allow beneficial bacteria to work their magic, but cold enough to prevent harmful pathogens from taking over. The anaerobic environment in the tightly wrapped packages further prevents the growth of dangerous bacteria that need oxygen. After 3 to 6 months of fermentation, the Iguanak develops a powerful aroma and a soft, almost buttery texture. The flavor is intensely savory with a distinct tang. It's the Arctic version of letting the milk in your fridge expire, except intentional and surprisingly not life-threatening. This preservation method requires significant know-how. The elders who oversee Iguanak preparation have passed down techniques through generations. A survey found that fewer than 20% of modern community members know the full process of making safe Iguanak, making it an endangered food tradition. While perfectly safe when prepared correctly, improper fermentation can lead to botulism. In some communities, Iguanak is considered a delicacy served at special occasions, with elders getting the choice pieces as a sign of respect. From fermented meat delicacies, we move to something a bit more straightforward. Dried caribou strips might lack the dramatic flair of fermented walrus, but what they lack in funk, they make up for in pure practicality. Cut thin, hung high, and dried by the elements. These meat ribbons have kept Inuit hunters and travelers alive during journeys across vast frozen landscapes for thousands of years. Think of it as the original energy bar, except it won't stick to your teeth or come in weird flavors like birthday cake protein blast. The process begins with fresh caribou, harvested during seasonal migrations when the animals are at their healthiest. Long, thin slices of lean meat are cut along the grain. The thickness matters greatly. Too thick and they won't dry properly. Too thin and they become too brittle. The drying process takes full advantage of the Arctic environment. Strips are hung on wooden racks or stretched across lines made from sinew or modern rope. The Arctic wind, cold, dry, and constant, pulls moisture from the meat, while frigid temperatures prevent bacterial growth. A good drying session takes only about 3 to 4 days in ideal conditions, making this one of the quickest preservation methods available. What makes these meat strips remarkable is their incredible shelf life. Properly dried caribou can last over a decade if kept in appropriate conditions, dry and protected from scavengers. Tests on traditional dried caribou samples showed they retain up to 80% of their original protein content even after years of storage. The texture of finished caribou strips has a distinctive snap when fresh, but becomes more yielding as you chew. The flavor is concentrated and gently gamey, with notes that hint at the caribou's diet of lichen and Arctic plants. It's like nature's version of those fancy charcuterie boards people post on social media, except nobody arranged it in a pretty pattern or paid $30 for 3 slices. For Arctic travelers, these strips weren't just food, they were survival. A hunter could carry several weeks' worth of nutrition in a small pouch tucked inside their clothing, where body heat would keep it from freezing solid. The strips require no cooking and can be eaten while on the move. The original fast food for people who were literally racing against freezing to death. From lean meat preserved by air and cold, we turn to another caribou-based survival food. Ever wondered what kept Arctic explorers warm during those bone-chilling -50-degree winters? Rendered caribou fat, or sweet, served as the high-octane fuel that powered human survival in one of Earth's most hostile environments. If modern dieters knew how essential fat was in the Arctic, they'd stop feeling guilty about that extra pat of butter at dinner. Unlike dried meat, which preserves mostly protein, suet focuses entirely on capturing the precious energy-rich fat from caribou. After a successful hunt, Inuit hunters carefully separate the fat deposits from around the kidneys and back of the caribou. This fat is then cut into small pieces and slowly heated over a gentle fire. The low, steady heat causes the fat to liquefy and separate from any remaining tissue or impurities. When properly rendered, the liquid fat is strained and poured into containers where it solidifies into a clean, white substance with a firm texture. The finished product has almost no scent when fresh, a transformation that extends its shelf life dramatically. What makes rendered caribou fat a survival powerhouse is its incredible energy density. Just 1 ounce provides around 250 calories, more than twice what you'd get from the same amount of protein or carbohydrates. That's like cramming an entire meal into something the size of a chocolate truffle, except a lot less exciting to most modern palates. Traditional storage methods involve packing the rendered fat into sections of cleaned caribou intestine or small pouches made from animal hide. These natural containers were then stored in cool, dry places, often buried in permafrost during warmer months. The versatility of suet made it especially valuable. It could be eaten plain, mixed with dried meat to create pemmican, combined with berries for a sweet treat, or used as emergency lamp fuel. Most importantly, it provided the high caloric intake necessary for survival in a climate where the human body burns energy at an accelerated rate just to maintain core temperature. From calorie-dense fat, we move to a completely different type of Arctic survival essential. Birch bark tea stands out in this list of never-expiring Inuit staples because it's the only item that doubles as both medicine and beverage. When winter temperatures drop lower than a politician's approval rating, this warming drink offers more than just comfort. It provides genuine medicinal benefits. It's like the original health drink, except nobody charges you $12 for it or claims it will detoxify your aura. Harvesting birch bark for tea requires knowledge and respect for the tree. Strips of bark are carefully peeled from white or paper birch trees, with harvesters taking only what they need and avoiding damage to the living tree beneath. The outer bark, the white, papery part, contains the compounds that give the tea its therapeutic properties. Once collected, the bark is dried thoroughly. Properly dried bark can be stored for years without losing potency, making it a reliable medicinal resource through long winters. No special storage containers are needed. The dried bark is simply kept in a dry place. Brewing the tea reveals its magic. When steeped in hot water, compounds in the bark release mild pain-relieving salicylates, chemical cousins to the active ingredient in aspirin. The resulting light amber tea has a subtle wintergreen flavor with a hint of sweetness. For people living far from pharmacies, this natural pain reliever could mean the difference between debilitating discomfort and being able to continue hunting or working. Beyond pain relief, birch bark tea acts as a mild diuretic and can help reduce fevers, crucial benefits in an era before modern medicine. Perhaps most remarkably, birch tea has been used across the Northern Hemisphere for thousands of years, with evidence of its consumption dating back at least 5,000 years. While modern health trends come and go faster than social media challenges, birch bark tea has stood the ultimate test of time, keeping people alive before heated houses and healthcare plans existed. Taking a step from the forest's medicine cabinet, we next explore a never-expiring food source that comes not from the land, but from the cold northern seas surrounding the Arctic. Dried kelp might not sound like the most appetizing item on an Inuit shopping list, but this remarkable sea vegetable has earned its place in the Arctic pantry of immortal foods. While the land sleeps under snow for most of the year, the cold northern seas teem with nutrient-rich seaweed that can be harvested, dried, and stored indefinitely. Before fancy health food stores were selling dried seaweed snacks for ridiculous prices, Inuit communities were already tapping into the superfood from the sea. Harvesting kelp requires timing and knowledge of local coastlines. During low tide, especially in spring and summer, coastal Inuit gathered different varieties of kelp and seaweed from exposed rocky areas. The best specimens are carefully selected, not too old, free from damage, and from cleaner waters. The preservation process is surprisingly simple. After collection, the seaweed is rinsed in fresh water to remove excess salt. Then comes the drying phase. The kelp is spread out on clean rocks or hung on racks where wind and sun can do their work. In just a few days, the soft, slippery seaweed transforms into rigid, paper-thin sheets that can be stored in bundles. What makes dried kelp remarkable is its nutritional profile. This unassuming sea plant contains more calcium by weight than milk, more iron than spinach, and impressive amounts of iodine, critical for thyroid function in a diet otherwise limited in this essential nutrient. One sheet of dried kelp can provide up to 10 times the daily recommended amount of iodine. The storage requirements are minimal. Unlike many preserved foods that need special containers or cool conditions, dried kelp can be kept in simple cloth bags or woven baskets. It's basically nature's version of those kitchen herb bundles you see in fancy cooking magazines, except these actually get used instead of just collecting dust. The versatility of dried kelp adds to its value. It can be snacked on as is, rehydrated in soups or stews, ground into a seasoning powder, or mixed with fat as a preservation technique for other foods. Some communities even use kelp as a preservation layer for storing fish or meat, where its natural salt content and antibacterial properties helped extend the life of other foods. Each of these incredible, never-expiring foods highlights the ingenuity and deep understanding of preservation that helped the Inuit thrive in one of Earth's most challenging environments, proving that sometimes the oldest solutions are still the most effective.